So for creating a assembly, I've made a new design in my project folder for my pen, and I'm going to bring in basically all my parts. It doesn't really matter where you put them, they're just coming in to this file. So that'll be your handles, let's say pen tip, mechanism. Here's one of my handles. I'm going to bring in the brass tube twice because I have two of them. And I'm not going to do the whole assembly. I'll do a bunch of it just to show you a couple of points that are worth looking at. Okay. So I got two brass tubes. Oops, I actually got three brass tubes. So I don't need this last one. I'll delete it. Okay. So here's my pen mechanism, pen tip, ring. I don't have the clip or the cap here right now, and that'll be fine. Now if you do find you have a part that doesn't look right, go back to the project file, update it, save that part. Then when you come back to your assembly, it'll give you an error message. Up at the top is where you can just click on that button and it'll tweak it. And in this case, that tweak was the color change. So the way the assembly is going to work is we're going to create these joints that are just going to tell it to lock certain points in position with other points. So that's found sort of up in the middle under assemble. There's a joint button, and I'm going to make sure I'm selecting very specific aspects. So for this brass tube here, I want to make sure it's on the plane of the opening of the brass tube that I'm selecting, because that is where it's going to get eventually squeezed up to here on the pen tip. So down here is not where it goes. Where that part of the pen tip goes is actually going to get sandwiched all the way up to here. Now if it goes on kind of goofy like that, we can always just flip it so that it's oriented in the way that we need. Once that looks good, you can say OK, and that's where it fits. Something like the mechanism, where you're actually having it go only part way through, I can put the joint on it, so I actually want it to go from the middle here. You can see the blue, red, green axes there, so that point I want here. And I can say OK. I'll also stack on the pen ring to there, and then the brass tube to the end of that. Now onto the back of this. Oops, that's backwards. Onto the back of this whole mechanism, you'll have the pen clip and the pen cap. They'll go here. If you did everything right, these handles should line up right on top of the brass tube. Whoops, I'm gonna flip. And it should all line up. Now why isn't mine lining up? That's where I can go back into that part. This was an older piece that I did, and modify it. So that's 2.42. That was not the length. It's 2.0. Let me pull out my dial calipers. I have 2.042. And I can say finish sketch. It's probably going to have an issue because I revolved something that's not there anymore. And this is where you might have to bounce back and forth. So I can look on my timeline and change my revolve. So my timeline down at the bottom here. Because the shape that I revolved went, I don't know what even happens there. So something went wrong, something went awry. So I'm going to edit this pen. Oh, I need to change the sketch. Okay, so my sketch needs, I need it to come down to here. I can do like that. So now that's just going to end there, and I'll not revolve the rest of that. So if I go back to my revolve step, I'll deselect that stuff. I don't know what's going to go on with it. That's fine. I'll say OK. It kept the red. So now I'm hitting save, going OK. I'll go back to my assembly. It should give me an error message now. You got a little yellow triangle. I can click on that update button on the top, and now it fits perfectly. So you might have to bounce back and forth in case you measured something wrong, but this is how you can self-check if you measured the parts correctly. And hopefully you did, and everything lines up perfectly and wonderfully. When you get to this part, you'll add the pen clip and then the pen cap there as well, and you should get more or less what the final view of your pen should be. Now remember, for me, I'm going to have you make 2 versions of the pen and render both of them, but ultimately you're going to pick one of those to 3D print and assemble. But the biggest part of this is being able to go back and change things if you need to, and the assembly button, or the joint button, which is under the assembly section of the ribbon at the top of the design tab. So that is the assembly of the pen. Detailed instructions on how this goes together can be found in the instruction book that comes with the pen kit that each of you were given. Please let me know if you have any questions.